I'm Nick Filardi.
I'm Jason Thielbar.
Welcome to the world's second finest podcast. Today, we're talking about Batbooks, which came out May 1996. Also, you can buy anything we talk about in the Amazon affiliate links below, or go to your local comic shop. That's always a better option than buying from the Bezos machine. But you know, if you're in a comic desert, hit up those links. It helps support the pod. Also, this show is available on YouTube with a little bit of art. I have finally caught up on the YouTube stuff. It's going to be double shipping on my channel. It's only going to be covers. It was the only way I was going to dig myself out, especially with the Contagion books, because it was like, oh my God, I got to pull art out of like 7 books. And I was like, this is just not going to happen. We're just going to do covers.
That's liable. It's liable to give you the clinch if you.
Exactly. And that's what you don't
watch
want.
out.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of what we want here at World's Second Finest.
You can find that over at youtube.com/Nickfil. Without further ado, we can get into the pod. But this used to be a segment, Jason. We used to do a segment for this, and I forgot what it was called. And I didn't know what episode it was in, and I couldn't look it up because we've done like 60 episodes now.
You want to go back and listen to every single one, every single minute until you just start at one?
I've already listened to every single one in the recording and in the editing and in the YouTubing, and I still can't remember this bit. So you know what? I'm bringing it back, and I'm not remembering the name. This is Around the DCU. So in May 1996, we got the first ever issue with the words Birds of Prey on them. We got a one-shot, a 50-page one-shot, Black Canary / Oracle, Birds of Prey. It was written by Chuck Dixon, art by Gary Frank. I read it. I was looking forward to it. I have conflicting release dates on this. Some were saying May 96, some were saying December. So I just went with May. I don't know, whatever. Like, I'm working off the data that I put into the spreadsheet. Anyway, nobody cares about that. The point is, Jason, is that nobody is doing anything with Black Canary and nobody is doing anything with Oracle. And like, we've been reading all these Bat books, and Oracle has showed up like a couple times for like a panel just to be like, hey, I Googled this and I found it. And Batman's thanks, bye, call over. You know,
thanks, nerd.
Yeah. So, I mean, man, she didn't even get any FaceTime when Batman was also in a wheelchair at the same time. Anyway, the point is that I read this book. The colors are rough in it, and there's some wonky 90s stuff in there. Like Black Canary, for example, it starts with her being like hard up, basically, like her car's about to be impounded, like she's got no cash, she's behind on rent, you know, superheroing doesn't pay the bills, you know. And then Oracle's like, hey, I'm going to scoop you up and send you on this adventure for me. And like, I'm going to fund the whole thing. And Black Canary's like, I'm on it. Like, yes, thank you. So she goes from like her car being impounded to like, she shows up at the airport and Oracle has an Aston Martin waiting for her. That's hers, you know? So, but like, when I say like, there's some weird 90s stuff, she is wearing like fishnets and like a one-piece bathing suit and a fringe jacket on an airplane for like 6 hours across the country, like coast to coast.
What do you wear on an airplane?
Well, I'll tell you what I don't do, Jason. I don't put my raw butt cheek down on that seat. I definitely do not do that.
Prude. Live a little.
But I do want to say, this issue was fun. We got some great Black Canary moments. We got some great Oracle moments. Oracle kind of expressing frustration with being in the chair. Not that she's frustrated with the chair and her new role, but she's frustrated that she's not in the field. Like there's a moment where Black Canary's like down and like she's like, I don't know if I can get up. And Canary's or Oracle's like, get the fuck up. Like, are you kidding? You can't get up? Are you kidding me? You can't get up. So
yeah,
very fun. It has a definite the Aston Martin. It's got definite super spy James Bond thing to it too. It's like it's about the bad guy is this international guy who develops third world countries into first world countries. Like that's his thing, and he borrows from the World Bank and stuff. But it's like it's all a ruse. He's just taking money. You know, he's like pocketing 60% of it. Black Canary ends up taking it down. Also featured in the book is the villain Lynx that we met in Detective Comics, because she was the number 2 guy under Bane's dad, who was running the Chinese mob in Gotham.
Yeah. Oh,
so I got a little bit of Lynx in there too, which was kind of fun, because I was like, oh, I'm reading the books from this era. This is from this era. It's an interconnected world. Like kind of good time.
I do like the sort of, I always enjoy the easy A of like making your superhero poor, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's just like an easy motivation for like plot for a story. It's like one of my favorite anime tropes is in a series when they couldn't figure out how to motivate the characters in that episode, so they just make them very hungry. And then their food motivation leads to like a ghost or a whatever, you know, but it all starts with them like walking around me like, I haven't had anything to eat in a day and a half, you know, like it's just great, simple, like everyone understands it. Like, hey, you've not had money before, you've been hungry before, like you
right.
You guys get it, you know, like, and then the plot just moves along.
Yeah. So with these issues, it really felt like, or with this one shot, it really felt like they were really trying to establish Oracle as a force. And they gave Black Canary a brand new costume. They pulled her from her West Coast to Gotham, like gave her a little bit of money. So
I love how Gotham is on the coast.
Yeah, that one. Maybe. So it really felt like the
same coast as Springfield.
They took these characters who were like languishing and like made something, you know, and they put it in a shot just to see if it would work. And it worked apparently, because there's a 4-issue arc of Birds of Prey in a few months. I'm sure I'll read that too. And then eventually it gets an ongoing. Chuck Dixon writes it for a while, and then Gail Simone takes it over and makes it hers. And that's when it gets real good, is what I hear. So I'm interested in trying it.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. I always enjoy a spy. A spy story is always just good. You know?
Yeah.
It's just like,
man.
I don't know. It's just silly fun.
You just reminded me, I've been wanting to read some James Bond comics, because some of them look really good, which is kind of odd. But I have the same, you know, we grew up in the 80s and 90s, and you know, I think we've hardened our hearts to like the IP machine of like, hey, a movie, now we made a video game, and you're like, oh, the video game's gonna suck, you know?
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to get on board with that stuff, but I think I want to read some James Bond stuff in the future. The Godzilla stuff I read was great.
Oh, like,
they can do it.
I read this, like, I should try to find it again, but I read this great profile years and years ago about writers who write adaptions of screenplays into books.
Yeah.
You know? And like the overall point I remember from it though is that, like, you know, they were constantly saying, they're like, I'm a freaking writer. Like, Yeah, of course I write other books. They're like, what are you talking about? Like, this is just like a gig. And like, and also when some people are shocked at like, oh wow, it was actually pretty fun and they added this color, and it's like, yeah, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, so they're not always, it's like, yeah, sure, it's not always going to be like great, and a lot of it is
or
probably,
whatever. Yeah.
trash, but like there's still, you know, like you don't get like any more pedigree just because like Warner Brothers actually decides to release your movie or some shit. Like,
Right. Exactly.
you know, it's like they release plenty of crap too. Like,
speaking of plenty of crap, Batman 531 is on the stands. It's written by Doug Munch with art by Kelly Jones and John Beatty on inks, colors by Greg Wright, Seps by Android Images, Todd Klein on letters, edited by Denny O'Neil with Jordan B. Gorfunkel as associate editor. Cover is Batman and Deadman back to back, surrounded by spirits. It's the Dead Man Connection, part 2. I kind of stumbled over that. Don't worry about it. Cult of the Mummy. We start with an indigenous person praying to spirits and the mummies of the dead for help. His people are dying from the same white man with explosive weapons that killed these spirits 400 years ago, spilling warm blood to claim cold treasure. He's interrupted by Killeen, who's the guy who's killing them. And he's like, he says, quote, "I told you before, priest, knock it off with that quivery mumbo jumbo. Now kiss your stinking mummies goodnight before I blast them to dust." End quote.
yeah, real nice man.
Real nice man. Batman then talks to Alfred for about 4 pages about how ghosts might exist because of science, but no one's scienced hard enough yet to fully prove it.
Yeah, the quantum mechanic explanation of ghosts was all like that was some nice, like, someone just read like their first explainer article on quantum mechanics.
I was going to say the same shit. Like, Doug Munch stumbled on an article and fucking rewrote it into this 4 pages of Batman.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, buddy, I get it. Waves, particles, observing, not observing. It's a thing.
Yeah, no, dude, I'm not going to get too off track, but just like anyone listening, don't even watch it because it's awful. But like, look up the synopsis for this quote unquote documentary called "What the Bleep Do We Know?" It was made by some like obscure like cult thing that gained some sort of like viral status. And it's pretty much all about that. It's all about like just misinterpreting quantum mechanics and like making people believe that you can control shit with your mind.
Oh my God.
It's great. It's great.
I have to. I got to check this out.
Yeah.
So anyway, those 4 pages are terrible. Kelly Jones doesn't get to draw anything, and it's just giant word balloons full of crap I already know. We get a recap about how these guys are looting ancient treasures from indigenous people, but some of the goons are worried about people fighting back. The goon doesn't want to keep killing, but Killeen is like, LMAO, dead tell no tales. Batman and Deadman bump into did I skip a thing? I feel like I skipped a thing. So Batman and Deadman also are teaming up. They fly to the indigenous people. They parachute in. After that, they bump into Chimu. After parachuting into the jungle, Batman proceeds to explain his whole shit to Chimu. Why he dresses like a bat, what he hopes to achieve. They get into like a semantic Twitter thread debate about the nature of evil, and it's a full page of text. It is fucking terrible. He guides them to the bad.
Am I evil?
What is evil? Like, if I wear evil, am I evil? Oh my God, Chimaru, shut the fuck up. Anyway, Chimaru decides he's going to guide them to the bad guys. Meanwhile, a descendant of Amaru and a guy advocating for what the priests are saying is debating about what to do with the white guys killing and looting until they're interrupted by a blonde dude who's all like, quote, "How many times do I gotta tell you? No more of that ancient gibberish talk," end quote. Chimaru takes Batman and Deadman to Machu Picchu. Chimaru gives Batman a bone flute for luck. Batman gives him a batarang. He doesn't seem thrilled about it. Batman and Deadman continue without him, and beat up some jungle goons. Batman swings between cliff sides to evade them, and Deadman follows. Deadman is shot exactly how he was shot when he died at the trapeze. But, like, not a big deal because he's super dead already. They push on. Next issue, part 3, The Spirit Thieves. Jason, what did you think of Batman 531?
I really liked it, honestly. I did laugh at the the long ghost art might be, ghost might have something to do with subatomic particles crap. And I also like despite itself, I think, this is just me being a 42-year-old man. It's not like it's not even like being of the era. It's just that whenever I like read a line in a book like this where it's like, what did I tell you about speaking that ancient gibberish? Like in my head, I'm like, that codes to me as something like way worse.
Yeah, for sure.
Because if this is supposed to be the bad guy, like there's going to be some slurs probably. But I understand it's like at the end of the day, it's not, but I still just kind of like, it's like one of those things with, what is it? The famous TV edit of The Big Lebowski is, this is what happens when you meet a stranger in the Alps, It's just like, stop it, what I tell you about that ancient gibberish. And like in my head, I'm just like, oh, dude, that's so offensive. That's so offensive. You can't say that.
The thing is, too, is like the way that they phrase it, because they're sanitizing it, it's almost like they're talking to children. Like, God, I told you for the last time, Jacob, you put that ball down. You put it down. Like, it feels like that.
Yeah. It's like, I swear to Pete, I'm going to kill all of you. And it's like, wait a minute. Hold on.
Those were the only two moments that I actually liked in the book, where the indigenous people were like, I don't fucking know about this. A lot of us are dying. And they're like, knock it off.
Yeah, I do sense your frustration of making Kelly Jones draw 4 pages of Batman and Alfred talking.
Oh my fucking God, dude. It's just like they're just in a car and driving around and talking about quantum physics, and I just wanted to die. And I was like, well, at least we're through that. We've powered through Doug Munch's article reading, and now we're going to get to some good Batman stuff. And then Batman parachutes in and gets in a semantic debate about evil, and I'm just like, and it's literally a blank page of Batman on one side and Chimu on the other, and just text all the way down, and no word balloons. And you get in the middle of there, and it's like they're debating semantics, and I'm like, I lost who's talking. I'm like, what do we do? What are we doing here? Doug, help me.
Yeah. There should definitely be. I wonder if there are on modern lettering programs, if there's like an automatic, like, the word balloon starts like turning like a bright red when you're making it too big, with a little like clippy like suggestion being like, are you sure? I think your dialogue might lack coherence if you make the word balloon this bit. Like, how about try breaking it up? And
I could have just used, like, manga does this occasionally, where it'll be a couple of word balloons, and then if they feel like it's getting too cluttered, or they can't make the word balloons stack right with the characters, they'll just put the character's face in the balloon, like a little chibi version of them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I feel like I needed just like a Batman icon on one side and a Chimu icon on the other, and it would have been legible for me.
Yeah,
but I don't know, man. After Batman 530, that I was like, this is the best book of the month. Batman 531 really disappointed me. Really disappointed.
Man, sometimes you have a great first quarter, and then you stink it up in the second, and all you gotta do is go in at halftime and reset and hope you come out ready for the third.
Jason, you're telling me, a Florida Gator fan, about having to reset during halftime? You're telling me?
You can I was going to mention this before, and you can probably rightfully cut this, but holy shit, that kid from LSU, wow. He himself had 606 total yards of offense. One guy. That is, even in college,
Jason,
that's bonkers.
Look, most teams have rebuilding years. The Gators are the only ones I know that have had a rebuilding decade.
Well, at least you're not Texas A&M, who just fired their head coach, who they 2 years ago signed to a $10 million contract, and the cost of a 10-year contract, and the cost of his buyout is $76 million. They are paying him $76 million to not coach their football team.
Is this money laundering? This feels like money laundering.
Nah, it's just oil guys who are like A&M alums. You know, some asshole who's writing the check.
Well, we're going to move on to Shadow of the Bat 51, unless you have anything else to say about Batman.
No, I'm just going to, I actually didn't even write about Shadow of the Bat. I just wrote more about Florida Gator football. So,
okay, well, we can run that, I guess. Welcome to Sports Center. Anyway.
Batman.
Whoa. We got a quick editorial note here. A little Buddy's Nerfect.
Yeah.
If you remember from Shadow of the Bat 50, Jason and I took a long walk making fun of all of the characters that were helping Batman in his fever dream against Necron. And we were like, this is so weird. There's the Flea, and then Joe Public's there, and then all these other characters that I don't know, even though I read the issues. Those were all characters from Shadow of the Bat. The Shadow Bat 50 featured artists all the artists who have been working on Shadow of the Bat over the years. So it was a big celebration of Shadow of the Bat. And Jason and I instead were just like, hey, Joe Public sucks. And then we just moved on.
Hey, well, you know, sometimes you get caught up in the fever of just chopping it up. You know, you just want to chop it up.
Yeah.
And you forget about
saw the trees, we missed the forests.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Buddy's nerfect.
Buddy is nerfect. True words, man. All right. Batman, Shadow of the Bat, issue 51. And no more Shadow falls on title. Alan Grant's the writer, Dave Taylor the penciler, John Dell inker, Pamela Rambeau is the colorist, Android Images separating them colors, Bill Oakley is the letterer, Carl Critchlow is the cover painter. He looks to now be probably the new permanent cover painter, maybe?
Yeah, the regular.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, still dope. I just love me some Brian Stilfreeze. Still always big shout to Brian Stilfreeze. Jordan B. Gorfunkel is your associate editor, and Dennis O'Neill is your big guy editor. The cops are swarming around the recently robbed Gotham chemical plant. It wasn't a robbery for money, though. It was just robbed of a few barrels of ketamine. Gordon wonders what anyone would want with horse tranquilizers, and then is reminded that people do drugs. I mean, come on, Jim. You've been a cop for how long?
He's the police commissioner.
Yeah. But his cop sense does let him know that there was a scuffle here, and he's scoping out the place when, rounding the corner, he spies a pass-the-hell-out Batman. Telling the beat cops to beat it and finish the interview with the chemical plant manager down at the station, he's going to stick around and see what he can see. And what he sees is a Batman that might be dead. He's not sure. No, wait. He can see the rapid eye movement. So he knows he's dreaming. The commish quickly deduces that he's been dosed with ketamine, but he's not sure what he should do. So, not sure if it's dire enough to call an ambulance and expose his secret identity, Gordon calls up a Dr. Brennan to get the skinny on what to do in case of a ketamine overdose. And it depends on the amount. You might need some medical intervention, or you could sleep it off. Shit. Thanks, Doc. Gordon tries waking up Batman in the most 40s, 50s style and just slapping him awake, which...
Bucket of water and a slap is that's how you get someone conscious.
Yeah. Tried and true methods, man. Batman isn't sure how long his mind and body can take this, We're back in the dreams. Even though he knows he's dreaming, he can't seem to wake up. And once he lands in a dream city, he feels a slight breeze on both of his cheeks. And this is the effect of Gordon trying to wake him up, like he's like Jim's like Clark Gable and Batman's like a hysterical dame or something. Get a hold of yourself. Back at Necron, is it Necron? I kept on writing it a few different ways.
I think it's Necron.
All right. Back at Necron's lair, he instructs his goons to mix 1 barrel of ketamine and 1 barrel of acetylcholine, which, all right, that's pretty simple. And he's going to take a nap. Hey, even homicidal maniacs get tired. Look at that. They're human too.
Mm-hmm.
In Dream City, Batman is confronted with a monstrous man-bat Freudian monster that represents himself that won't let him escape. An epic battle ensues. Now we're straight back to the crime hideout. One of the goons is complaining about the grim work they're doing. Like, aren't like school kids going to get killed if they poison the city with a cocktail that knocks you out? Well, shut up, idiot. You're getting paid $1 million a day. But when they check their pocket, nothing. Zilch. Nada. So they confront the napping villain, and he convinces them through some sort of spell or hypnosis that no, here's the money. Signs of more things to come.
I screwed up. It's not Necron. It's necrosis.
Okay, it is necrosis. Okay. Yeah, necrosis is... Okay, yeah. Necrosis is lair. Back in Batman's Dream City, that Freudian bat monster is all tied up and taken care of. But Batman is still stuck. How does he get out? And he looks deep into his heart and sees the little boy mourning his parents at their grave. And he decides that it's his freakish will that has allowed him to do all of this, to turn himself into the Batman, and his will be done. Just waking up as Gordon was splashing some water on his face, not slapping this time. Lucky that one.
Yeah.
Now, the villains have broken into a dairy, ready to poison Gotham's milk supply. The bastards! Gordon tells Batman to literally lean on him, and then he speeds off into the Batmobile to continue the fight. Next issue, safe as milk. Nick, what'd you think of Shadow of the Bat 51?
I don't know, man. There were a couple of good moments. Like, I like the weird bat demon he fights in the little town, the little creepy town in his brain. Like, that was a good time. But other than that, it felt just kind of boring. I mean, I forgot the main villain's name, so that's got to tell you something. He's like,
hey, so did I. I was writing the freaking thing.
The main villain like takes a nap for most of this issue, and then it's just Batman being like, I gotta willpower it, and then it's a picture of him. It's just like a picture of him standing there, and he's like, now I'm willpowering, and he's just still standing there. I'm just like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, I guess the story's fine, but like,
it's fine.
Maybe because I'm reading too many of these books, but like, I'm sorry, how many fucking times do I have to be reminded that, like, his parents were shot in front of him? It's like, I know, man.
Right.
It's like, guys, I'm in Shadow of the Bat. Like, this isn't really going to newsstands, dude. Like,
right.
I don't know if,
you're like, I am in the Batman weeds. I get it.
Yeah, but I think the most like, and maybe it'll change after this arc is done, but I think the thing that like I'm starting to miss the most in Shadow that really made me like it a lot, like early on, was that it seemed like to be more of a, well, kind of what the title suggested, which is just this like anthology where Batman's sort of there.
Right.
It's just supposed to use his spotlight to like promote other characters. And like when it's just him, I'm like, the dude's got 6 other books, man. Like,
oh, yeah. I mean, this is a problem with Batman Batbooks in general. I remember chatting with an editor once about how I was like, oh, I get it. Like, this book is this version of Batman, and this book is this version of Batman, and this book's this version of Batman. And they were like, yeah, And like we start with those good intentions, and then you get like X amount of issues in, and it just turns into just more Batman, you know?
Yeah.
Like you start to take the guardrails off because you're like, well, I want to do this story with this version. And it turns into, instead of like detective being about being a detective, and Batman being about being a superhero, and Shadow being about Batman putting the spotlight with a team up character of some kind, you know?
Yeah.
Instead, it just turns into like, this is the Chuck Dixon Batman. This is the Alan Grant Batman. This is the, whatever Batman.
Yeah. That's just, so like, it's like the story's fine, but it's just like, I don't know. It's kind of, it's kind of like it's like I've been eating spicy food all week, man. Like I love spicy food, but like, I was kind of thinking that this wouldn't be spicy food right now, like
Right.
It's like love me some Batman, but like I was kind of thinking this was like less Batman.
I also, and like maybe this is kind of an unfair knock because it is 90s comics, but like, if we're doing a story about getting into Batman's psyche, and the best beat that you can come up with is like his parents died and he has willpower, it's like I don't get the point of this. Like it's so well, like what you were saying, it's so well trodden ground that I'm like, we can do this. Is what we said in issue 50. Like you can do anything when you get him into a dream state. And issue 50 felt like an issue, felt like a wild time and a celebration of Shadow of the Bat. And then this just feels like more of the same, even treading water. You could probably pick up 52 and skip over 51 and be like on board with everything that's going on.
Yeah. Like you could have had like Bane and his recently like, being like going through being paralyzed and that whole ordeal of like the mark of his willpower. Like if you really wanted it to be willpower, you could have like brought up like, well, even just like the recent history of like the character itself, and it would have been like a bit at least a bit more compelling of like this thing that he just got over 2 fucking weeks ago.
Right like, or you could do something like really startling, like if you want to highlight his willpower, have him like forcing himself awake, no Gordon there, and he wakes up and he has a Green Lantern ring on because he's been summoning so much willpower that like a ring found him. You know what I mean?
Oh, shit.
Like do something crazy, like if we're going to highlight it, you got to give me a payoff in some way.
Yeah.
Instead, it's just like, and then he woke up when Jim Gordon splashed the water on him and got in the Batmobile and drove away. And you're just like, I guess. I fucking guess.
Yeah. And you just made me think, you're like, when you were like, oh, you could like, get issue 52 and like be fine. I'm like, maybe also this is like kind of the way things were wrote and or edited back then. Cause like, as we talk about, like, a lot of times like you did miss an issue. Like, before subscription boxes, if your place didn't have a subscription box service, or like it just wasn't ordered that month, or they forgot
picking
to, whatever
up on a newsstand in a grocery store or a train station or whatever. Yeah. It felt like a lot of treading water to me, unfortunately.
Yeah, it seems like both Batman and Shadow are kind of water treaders.
Yeah.
Kind of just like floating out there.
You want to get into Detective and see what's going on there?
Yeah. Let's see if Detective can actually swim.
Detective Comics 698, written by Chuck Dixon, pencils by Graham Nolan, inks by Scott Hanna, colors by Gloria Vasquez, seps by Android Images, letters by John Costanza, edits by Scott Peterson with associate edits by Darren Vincenzo. The cover has
Costanza. Sorry.
The cover has Two-Face, Killer Moth, and Robin chained in a makeshift jail together. We open with our boys in Lockup's makeshift jail. No one's happy, but Two-Face is ready to kill the weed whacker guy for sure, because he is just nonstop complaining.
Two-Face has a very short temper.
Killer Moth Now an actual giant killer moth is eating rats to survive. Police try to get Lockup to give away where the prison is because he's in police custody. And because of that, they're not eating in the prison. And they're very upset. And Killer Moth is the only one who's eating because he's eating rats. So police try to get Lockup to give away where the prison is. He doesn't. And his prisoners might starve. He doesn't budge. Police lock him up. And they chat with Batman, hoping to find the hidden prison. Lockup doesn't stay locked up, though. He picks the locks of his cuffs, and then picks the lock of his cell, overpowers the guards, dresses like a cop, and walks out the front door, gets in a police van, and just drives away.
It's that easy, kids.
Batman lets him know that Lockup has escaped and they're going to have to trap him again. Nightwing lets Batman know that they ordered a terrible pizza. Lockup feeds his prisoners. Batman narrows down Lockup's potential targets to 3. Vanya Hunky Triplet, those were words, by the way, that was a name, was a mobster who skated on racketeering. It sounded like I had a stroke, Jason.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, no. I was watching him. He did. It's fine. Everything's okay.
Vanya Hunky Triplet, who skated on racketeering charges, is partying with his mob dudes. Batman disguises himself as Matches Malone to infiltrate the party. The next is Jay Huffman, who got out on circumstantial evidence but is accused of being a child murderer. Nightwing is set up to surveillance him. The last is Eldon Young L. Adams, who Tim Drake is posing as a potential black market gun buyer on the street to get close. The mob dudes think Matches is wearing a wire, so they detain Batman. Nightwing is saving a crying child from Jay Huffman and kicked his ass, thank God. Meanwhile, Lockup shows up at the gun buy, smashing his truck into the parked car that had all the guns in the trunk. So while that is happening, the goons hop a fence and run away, and Lockup's like, well, nothing I could do about that. I got stopped by this fence. And so he turns and like Tim's the only guy left there. And Tim is like, guys, Lockup's here and could use a little bit of help. He tries to throw a punch and the Lockup just like grabs his fist and crumbles him because he is a child. Tim Drake is a child. And Lockup is a giant guy. So the street goons get away. Tim Drake gets nabbed. Lockup wants Tim Drake to eventually lead him to Eldon Adams. He doesn't realize that Tim Drake is Robin. That is where our issue ends. Jason, what did you think of Detective Comics 698?
I really had a lot of fun with it, honestly. I really dig the insanity of the Lockup character, but I also love how like I love how any cop show, you know, and I consider Batman sort of a cop show.
Sure.
Like any cop show will sort of do this thing where there's like a vigilante, even though all the characters in any cop show are always like quasi vigilante, but they'll do this vigilante character and be like, oh, see, that one's the bad one. You know?
yeah.
And it's like, but past that, I just find that kind of funny. That's all. I fucking still love SVU. You know, whatever.
Yeah.
But no, it was just a lot of fun. I love Two-Face getting annoyed by the like that whole bit with
the weed whacker guy complaining.
Yeah, but also like just that was such a great gag of just like pointing to the Mothman to Killer Moth, be like, I can't just eat rats like that. Like fucking freak nasty monster over there.
Yeah, he's just a creature.
And he's just like, he's a cryptid just in the corner devouring a freaking rat. Like
Lockup. If there was anyone that deserves to be murdered and not locked up, it's a giant mutant killer moth who's eating rats in the corner. What are you doing, buddy?
Yeah,
you're committed to the bit too much.
yeah, like that. That's like a monster from like Hieronymus Bosch's The Garden of Earthly Delights. You know, like that's like
exactly. just some weird shit. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's why I dug it. That's why,
Oh yeah, man.
Did you throw down with the
I liked it. It was really
weirdness?
great. Great lockup moments. Good Bat Family stuff. Really great use of time to be like, okay, we're gonna do Matches Malone over here, we're gonna do Nightwing over here, we're gonna do Robin over here.
Yeah, those are like great split screens. Yeah.
Right. And then it was like Robin being like, guys, I found lockup, and no one can help him because they're all doing their own thing. I thought it was just really well done. The prison stuff is great. I kind of love Lockup as a character. He's just like a big dumb guy who wants to lock people up. It's great. It's great. The way he walked out of the police station, like, it was perfect. We didn't sit there and labor like over the interrogation. It was only a couple of panels before the cops were like, this guy's a brick wall, just throw him in jail, And I was like, yes, let's just like quickly, shot after shot, like beat after beat. Let's just keep it moving,
Exactly. Yeah.
I out of the mainline Bat books, probably my favorite. The other ones felt like they were the middle part of a story that you didn't need a middle part for, and this one was like actual substance, an actual meal.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it was, and I do love the Dick Grayson talking shit on Gotham's Pizza. All of a sudden, it's like, motherfucker, you grew up here, all right?
Yeah,
like, what do you?
Okay,
like,
all right. I need to specifically. So he ordered a pizza, right? And he has So, okay, first of all, there's a panel of Batman glaring over his shoulder at Nightwing and Robin, who are smiling, and he's like, we pulled up new possibilities and staked them out. And then he's like, is that pizza I smell? Nightwing's like, it's andouille and pineapple. I had to look up what andouille is. It's a French smoked meat made of pork, and there's a Cajun version of it that apparently is probably pretty good. It's an incredibly specific pizza that they decided to get, like, not pineapple and sausage, pineapple and andouille.
Well, it was more. Well, I was one of those freaks who loved a Hawaiian before I couldn't eat pork. So
yeah.
I do. That's one of the things I miss the most about being able to eat that.
Another one of my favorite moments out of this issue was there's a guy in there. I think it's supposed to be Weed Whacker, but I'm not sure. He might just be a mob guy, and he's in the prison and he's yelling at Lockup, and he's a little guy, and he's like, you should think twice about what the crimes that got you here. Lockup's like, whatever. And then he's like, no. When I killed those women, I sent them to a wonderful place. Like, you're a monster. I'm not the monster. You're a monster. And Lockup like leans in and he's like, okay, dude, how about I crank open the cage and we go around a few times? And the guy's like, I'm good.
Yeah.
And then he turns around, he starts walking out. And then the prisoners are throwing their used apple cores at him on his way out. And I was like, this is just so good. This is just so good.
Yeah, it's a very fun villain to write, I think. And I am happy that they didn't spend 4 pages going over like the freaking like ethics of like what he's doing versus what like the whole system does and all this other shit.
Just give me the story. Let me figure out the ethics. Just give me the story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this isn't like... Yeah, it's not that kind of book. It's not that kind of book. That's all I'll say.
At any rate, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was really good.
Do you want to take us into Batman and Robin Adventures issue 8?
Batman and Robin Adventures issue 8. Harley and Ivy and Robin? Paul Dini is doing the story. Rick Burkick's doing the art. Ty Templeton handling that dialogue. Linda Medley doing the colors. Tim Harkins, letters. Darren Vincenzo is the associate editor, and Scott Peterson, as always, is our big guy editor. We jump straight into one Harley Quinn, making her escape from the zoo with her babies. with a pithy robin swinging down from above, letting her know that they set an alarm, knowing she'd come for her pooches, the hyenas, in case anyone's, Robin scoops up Harley, and she objects to being manhandled in such a way. She is still a lady, young Master Dick. Just as Robin thinks he has Miss Quinzel beat, she calls in her reinforcements. It's Poison Ivy, locking Robin up with some twisty vines and making some questionable comments about his youth. I suppose he is college age at this point, but Ivy, yikes. Robin gets a special smooch, and we all know what this means. Now he's under Ivy's influence. After warning Harley that her hyenas better not water on her rare plants, she gets Robin to profess his love and devotion to her, commenting that they now both have their pets. Ivy, again, yikes. Batman finds a helpful note that says, haha, H&I, on Robin's badass Akira bike, so he knows something's up. As he speeds away in the best Batmobile ever, he calls Alfred to let him know that Master Dick won't be back that night. Just then, he hears over the police scanner that there's been a robbery in progress at the Gotham Jewelry Mall. I love how Gotham has a whole mall devoted to jewelry.
Yep.
With suspects that fit the description of the recently escaped villains Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn. Harley and Ivy are having their fun trying on jewelry. Batman busts up their party, but Harley sicks her pups on them. The next animal Bats is going to have to face is none other than the Boy Wonder, who will be under that poison spell. Batman and Robin roll around fighting until Ivy trips over one of Harley's dogs and hurts her ankle. As soon as that happens, a concerned Robin rushes to her aid. Harley's the only one who remembers that Batman's still there, ready to fuck them all up, and throws a smoke bomb to escape. Harley has to carry all of the loot while Robin carries Ivy. This is further illustrated by Harley and her dogs having to hold on for dear life to the back of the getaway car as Robin speeds away with Ivy in front. Batman informs Gordon that if his men run into Robin in the middle of a heist, he's not responsible for his actions. And Jim's just like, yeah, I know. It's like, man, great to have connections, kid. Great to have connections.
Mm-hmm.
Back in an abandoned greenhouse, Ivy is getting a foot massage, sexily by the looks of it, by a shirtless Robin. Ivy, what's going on here? Well, I mean, honestly, I think this is like Paul Dini's ideal woman is what's going on here. But hey, you know what?
Okay, can we just slow down for just a second? Robin, no shirt on, but the gloves are still on. So he's still Robin. Mask is still on, and he's rubbing Ivy's feet, and she's only wearing a towel. This is a book for kids, Jason. Meanwhile, Harley's in the background in a crop top and Daisy Dukes.
Yep. She kind of always dressed like that, though. So
yeah.
They'd probably be worse if Bruce Timm was drawing it. Be like, we can't sell this to kids.
You're not wrong. We got to take this whole thing back to formula.
So Harley's got some plans for the next heist, but Robin very quickly mansplains to her that her plans are shit and she should feel like shit. Then he starts to formulate his own plans. Now, there's a beautiful splash page montage of the gang robbing banks. I love all the sectioned off.
All the different heists.
Panels. Yeah, of the heists that they were holding, and then big just in the middle, all three of them running away. I just really had
two of them running, and Harley is carrying all the loot very slowly with great effort.
Yeah. And there's no cracks in the plans. No one can ever stop them. What with Robin using all this strategery he learned from, being Robin. And Alfred helpfully notes to Batman that he's raised a master criminal and should be proud. Alfred, you sassy bitch, never change. You gotta keep it light, man. You gotta keep it light. Batman figures out through some quick detective work that they must be hiding out in a greenhouse and not one that's currently operating, given the plant that Ivy needs to make her consent not needed potion. Back at the hideout, the empty greenhouse, Harley is yet again playing the pack animal and dragging all the loot behind her. It is very heavy by the comical way she is straining. I always love a good, straining.
Yeah. Dragging the sack of loot.
Yeah. And you know who's getting really sick of this third wheel shit? Harley Quinzel, that's who. Harley finds a big bottle that says antidote on it and decides to bring this back to a 2-ring circus. It takes Harley a hilariously long time to get the hypnotized Robin to take a drink while he's planning the next heist. When he finally does, she literally jumps for joy and then jumps for violence, bringing a hoe down on this hoe for being forgotten yet again.
Yeah.
I feel you, girl. I feel yeah, I get you, Harley. Robin fights back for a second, but soon Harley is coming back with some shears, ready to trim him up good. That's just when Batman's shadow is cast over her, and he stops her from perforating the poor lad. Not before she calls her dogs to protect their mama. Batman versus animals? Well, we all know what he's gonna do here. He fucks them right up, using his cape to bonk their heads together while they're lockjawed on it. That gives Harley enough time to escape and regroup with Ivy, who re-smooched Robin to bring him back under her spell. This dude's rocking a scythe and told to do Batman in. As he crouches down for the killing blow, he knocks down Harley and Ivy, quipping that he knew they'd like to be swept off their feet. Nice. After they're led away in a paddy wagon, Batman asks Robin how he escaped Ivy's second controlling kiss. Well, he pretty much OD'd on the antidote, so, that took care of that. And Dick remarks that after being hit in the head by the Joker, punched in the teeth by Two-Face, this caper actually wasn't so bad. You horn dog. The end.
Let me hit you with the stinger before we let me hit you with the stinger before we talk about the issue. Stinger for the next issue. When the daughter of the demon shows up on campus, there's only one person capable of stopping her. Batgirl. Problem is, Batgirl's not sure she'd agree with that assessment, and Batman and Robin and Batgirl Adventures #9, Tears, written by Ty, Brandon Cross, Rick, Linda, and Tim, will be next month. See you then.
Oh, nice. Gonna get some Barbara Gordon action.
Barbara Gordon, Talia al Ghul. Let's do it.
Here for it.
Yeah, the Talia issues in the last arc, or the Batman Adventures that we did, the 36 arc that the giant omnibus has come out for. Those Talia issues were probably my favorite of the whole thing. So high bar is set. But
nice.
Let's talk about this issue. Jason, it fucking ruled. Like
it did.
It was such a great issue. You got Paul Dini writing some horny characters. You got Robin fighting Batman. You got Harley's antics. You got Poison Ivy doing Poison Ivy things. Everybody's having a great time. Batman's chucking hyenas through glass windows. Like,
I love this theme of Batman versus animals and just him fucking them up. And there's not an animal he won't fight.
The giant poster board note that they prepared to put on Robin's Akira bike, very good. It's just it's just antics all the way down, and it was so much fun. I've never seen this angle before with, like, I know that, like, Poison Ivy has used her powers to, like, put people under her spell and stuff. And we've seen Batman be under her spell and stuff. And, like, we've never seen, like, Robin under her spell, but still Robin, and, like, be like, oh, no, I got to rework these capers, like, because I care about you and I want you to be safe. So I got to rework these capers. Like, I've never seen that angle before, and it was just very, very fun. Yeah, just a blast.
Yeah, it was super well done. It was I did when I was like going back through the write up is when I added in I think this is Paul Dini's ideal woman because like
Yeah.
at every
Well,
step with Ivy I'm
technically,
like,
technically, Paul Dini's ideal woman is Zatanna, right? Isn't that on record?
oh okay well
Yeah. He married a magician after
oh wow
working on Batman stuff because I think he's just enamored by Zatanna.
I didn't know that. That's great.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
Uh
That's awesome.
I also want to shout out the coloring.
Oh,
It
Linda
is
Medley. Yeah.
really great all the way through. One of the things that I think hurt the mainline Batman books is that like the Necrosis book, the Shadow book, it's like you're going from scene to scene to scene, and it's basically all colored the same, and it's all really drab, and it just contributes to like it not feeling exciting at all.
Yeah,
And
yeah, you're not yeah, you could have had some more like fun and more direction if you made
yeah, a little
a
bit of
bigger distinction
mood.
yeah, between the dream world and the real world
Right.
and
And you got a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of
yeah.
opportunity to do a lot of creative things, and they just didn't, you know?
Yeah.
Um, whereas this book had like these really interesting spot colors for characters in the background. They were just like all yellow with like one cut in them, like one shadow, as they're like violent in the background, but like they're not the focus of the panel. So you can kind of do that. And then you have like Harley and Ivy debating stuff in the foreground. So it's like a little bit of that. There's like some great lighting on Batman and Alfred in the Batcave, like being lit by the screen, the green screen of like looking at the leaf. So like Alfred is not in white, he's in green. And I just appreciated all that. It was nice, especially because like I found two of the Bat books in the mainline Bat series really disappointing. It was nice to get like this book was like a meal. This thing was just like it was
Oh
so
yeah.
good. It was so packed in. Like you could easily turn this thing into like 2 or 3 issues, and instead it was just like does not stop, is go go go. There's like bits
Yeah.
through the whole thing. It's just
Yep.
yeah, I can't say enough good things. It's all great.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the bits. I love the and something that I always appreciate about especially the characters of Harley Quinn and the Joker within the like Batman the Animated Series and like, Batman and Robin Adventures books is that I think that like being that I think that Paul Dini and Bruce Timm are probably around the same age, maybe a little bit younger than like Matt Groening, right? And
Yeah.
like one of the things that like, Matt Groening always brought up of like the joke of Itchy and Scratchy is that they're just as violent as the cartoons they grew up with. They just happen to add the blood, right?
Yeah. Right.
And like I see a lot of that in like Bruce Timm and Paul Dini's characterization of like Harley and of the Joker, where it's like
Oh yeah.
it's mostly cartoonish violence, but then at a certain point, like when she picks up the shears, it becomes very menacing.
Right.
It,
Like she so Robin's coming too, right? And he's like, wait a minute. I remember. I've been brainwashed. I'm working for Poison Ivy. And then Harley comes
yeah,
barreling into the room with a hoe raised over her head. And she's like, and me. Everybody forgets me. And like you're like, oh, this is part of the bit. Like the her rage bubbling over
yeah,
is part of
constantly
like
being forgotten.
it constantly being forgotten is like this is the bit, this is the whole fun of this issue. And she clobbers him with it. It breaks the hoe over his head. But because it's the bit, it kind of like doesn't really register as violence. And then when she picks up the shears, we get this
Yeah,
menacing look from her and this jump with the pointed shears that are like shining. And it
yep,
just like you realize that like, oh, we've left the bit at
yeah,
this point.
yeah. It's the record scratch. It's like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
There's about to be,
And then we think we've left the bit, and then Batman takes the shears away from her, and she yells, she yells, "Ow! Where'd you come from? I got the whole world against me." And it's just like, oh, perfect, perfect, pitch Fucking
Oh
perfect.
yeah. Yeah. And I did hear it in that beautiful, like, uh, to be fair, never seen any of the Margot Robbie Harley Quinn. I'm sure she's
Yeah.
fine, whatever. But if you're doing Harley Quinn and you're not trying to do your best Cyndi Lauper impersonation, I don't know if you're really doing Harley Quinn. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I just like that's canon to me, you
Sure.
know? Like, but I get it. Not everybody can do a Cyndi Lauper. It's
So,
fine.
unless you have anything to add, I
No,
just wanted
no.
to formally retire the letters page. I keep checking
Oh,
out the letters page. It's gotten worse and worse. It's just kind of like people emailing and being like, I like the issue. And Scott's like, thanks. And like, that's it. We are in the years of the waning letters column.
man, the last letters column I ever read on any regular basis was was the Maxes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
And that was,
in head to head. That
those
was
were like
90s, early
90s,
2000s,
but
but
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, those
yeah.
were like
Well,
the last ones that were pretty good.
yeah, yeah. I also like, man, like I loved so much that I actually had a classified ad for that mini comic that I did that I
Oh,
put
you
because
did?
you could do, yeah, because you could do really cheap classified ads in the back of it, and he would
Yeah,
just run them, you
sure.
know, and he ran like a lot of letters, and like it was just really, I don't
Did you
know,
move
it
any
was just
books?
really cool. A few, but
Nice.
like,
Nice.
yeah, I think like four. I think I sent like four out.
I think that if people advertised minis and zines in the back of like mainstream comics, I would be like up to my neck in fucking zines by now. You know, it
Yeah,
would be
yeah,
I'd be in a
probably,
Scrooge McDuck situation, Jason.
probably. Fuck, now I gotta find. I'm gonna have to like order some zines from places. Just
Yeah,
bought a bunch
I
of books.
Thought Bubble just happened, and
Oh yeah,
somebody in my in another Discord were like, "Hey, I went to Thought Bubble," and they usually buy a lot of comics anyway, and it was
yeah.
just like a mountain of zines, and I was
Oh,
so jealous.
that's beautiful. So what was your we're doing your favorite book? What was your favorite book of the main books?
Best book of the month got to be Batman and Robin Adventures #8. Like
Yeah,
the Batman issue, I really didn't like. The Shadow issue, I
yeah,
really didn't like. Detective gave it a run for its money, but man, you can't beat those Paul Dini antics. Like Harley
yeah,
Quinn's there, you know I'm on board. Ivy was great. Robin was great. It was just great. It was just great.
yeah, yeah. Same way. I'm also happy to see. This wasn't like my favorite part about the book, but like I am happy to see more Robin in Batman and Robin adventures because
Yeah.
it seemed like for a few issues there, it was like mostly Batman with sort of like, "Hi, I'm Robin," and everyone's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, we know you're here. We know you're here." You know, like shit, like because last issue we had the Oops All Robins, and then
Oops, all Robins. Yeah.
yeah, and then so I was like, "Oh, okay, they're getting the kid like actually a part," and it doesn't
Right.
feel like he's just tagging along anymore either. It feels
Right.
like
Right.
he's some part of
Yeah.
the story now, you
I
know?
I I felt like when we started Batman and Robin Adventures, it took them a little while to like find their legs, and I was definitely like more critical of the start of the run than I am
Yeah,
now. It feels like they've had enough time to sit down and figure this thing out. And Ty is when Ty writes an issue, or when Paul Dini writes an issue, they've hit a point where it feels like they're consistently good again. You know,
yeah,
like it's not just like oh, there's like a glimmer here, and then the next issue is kind of weak, and then they'll do a 2-issue run, and it'll be like, oh, these are pretty good, and it instead of that, it's like, oh, issue after issue after issue is really good.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm looking
totally.
forward to reading more.
Yeah, me too, and especially, man, I'm getting a Barbara Gordon issue. I love this
Yeah,
version of Barbara Gordon
yeah,
so much.
she's so
She's
good,
great. Yeah,
precocious.
yeah, I just wanna
Yeah,
be her friend.
yeah. That's the thing is like this version of Robin, this version of Batgirl, it's like you just want to hang out with them.
Yeah. Like I bet I could hang out with Barbara Gordon at a coffee shop and have some like, really fun like arguments.
Yeah.
Yeah. Barbara, if you're out there.
If you're out there.
Barbara, if you're out there, I'm single.
Yeah. Jason, you're just waiting for the right Batgirl to come along.
Pretty much. If you know what, if your name is just Barbara and your father was at some point a police commissioner, give me a call.
We're narrow casting at this point, but I like that you're putting out the vibe, Jason. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Gotta put it out into the universe,
Jason, how do people get in touch with you?
They can get in touch with me on the awful Twitter machine that I still can't let go of, and that's fine. I've made my peace with it. At King of Black Acid on there.
You're a chronic user. You're gonna be there till they turn the fucking lights out.
I scroll. I almost never post. I post way more as World's Second Finest, which you can also find us there at World's Second Finest with the number 2 in there. I've posted way more like actual words on that account than I ever had on my personal Twitter account.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, that's where they can find me, and they can find all of your stuff at linktree.com/Nickfil, and also on
I don't even have to say it. I don't even have to say it.
Also on your Discord and at youtube.com/Nickfil. Check out those episodes. He just starting.
Yeah. I'm double shipping this podcast up there in order to catch up. Just covers are up. No interiors, because if I started doing interiors, especially with the stuff with where we were covering Contagion and it was like 7 issues, there was like no way I was going to put those videos together. I wish it's the same thing with 0 Hour. Like I wish that I had the time to really dig in and make a 0 Hour like video, like end, like beginning and end, like put some time into it, but I just don't have the time. It doesn't pay anything. It's like, I don't know, it is what it is. The other thing is I was going to mention, I cut all social media from my phone except for Discord.
Nice.
And so I am detoxing. I am often picking up my phone and realizing there's no reason for my phone to be in my hand now. That's what I'm doing with my time these days.
Yep. It's good. It's good. It's how you got to do it.
Yeah. So if you want to get in touch with me, Discord is the best place to do it, because otherwise I'm using social media mostly as a one-way street. I might, if you ask me something on Twitter or Blue Sky or Instagram, I might get around to it eventually. Just be patient with me, because I am basically Discord only.
That's the way to go.
Yeah, man.
I think that's the way to do it.
Discord's a real conversation with like actual people, instead of just like 500 people word vomiting whatever thought they have, like all in a feed.
Yeah. Well, and it's also a lot easier to control it if someone starts acting like a dick.
You just kick them out.
Yeah. You just get out of here. Like,
yeah. Easy peasy.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening, everyone.